Switching to your secondary is always faster than reloading. Am I excited to shoot this thing today? I feel like this is a long requested thing from a lot of you guys. There's a lot of fans of the OG Flux Raider, the one that takes the P320 and turns it into a what is this? A PCC? What does it turn it into? And now we have gotten the little brother to it, even smaller than the Flux Raider. We have the Raider 365, okay? You heard it here. This is a chassis that takes the P365 series of parts. This particular gun that I have in here is a completely bone stock P365 XL. However, if you're used to running the P365 XL magazines, unfortunately this takes macro magazines. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's talk about our sponsors, the people who make this channel function, the people I hold near and dear to my heart. Starting with number one, we have OpticsPlanet. OpticsPlanet providing you with virtually everything from mac and cheese to like all-of-a-sudden optics, like the full spectrum over there, especially with Micah 7. You get to save yourself some cash. So if you are a college student, you need some mac and cheese, head over there. Second sponsor, Shooting Surplus. Shooting Surplus is the best in the biz. They will get you squared away on all the cool toys that you could snag over there with Micah 7. They've been around since the beginning, so I absolutely cannot thank them enough. They've helped pioneer the start of this channel. It wouldn't be a thing without them, so send them some love. Third sponsor, Americana Pipedream Apparel. Also been there since the beginning. I think Americana Pipedream was the first people to give me a phone call about sponsoring this channel. And then they offered you the coupon code BUSSY to save yourself. It used to be BUSSIN, but now it's BUSSY. Yeah, too many people weren't putting on the N, and we won't get into it, but get yourself some Alpenflage, Xidax knives, all that good stuff. And all the 9mm that we are shooting today is provided by LastShot, okay? They're out of Arizona, shipping US wide, all that good stuff. Coupon code PLUG gets you free shipping over $250, okay? Now, getting into the video, we have, man, I'm gonna be doing this so much. It's just, look, the OG Raider was already satisfying, just presenting and having it pop out. Something about is crazy. You could see it like swinging out. It clicks in right before it goes onto your shoulder. It's like sensory overload. This thing is wicked fun. The biggest improvement already that I'm just gonna jump right in over the Flux Raider is this is an aluminum chassis. This is not a polymer or an injection molded chassis. They have gone with an aluminum design. It makes it feel a lot less like a chassis and a lot more like a firearm, if that makes any sense. The whole gun almost feels like it was built to be this. It doesn't feel like a pistol that I put into a chassis. I did have some issues with it. I don't know if it's quite perfect yet. The issues are pretty minor, but we still have to discuss them. Overall, I think I had a great experience with it. So as far as shooting this thing suppressed,
behind you, dude.
Dan's always got my back. Thanks, Dan.
No problem.
So SIGs don't have the greatest reputation for running suppressed. Now, you absolutely can get them running suppressed. I had a heck of a time getting my Flux Raider to run properly suppressed. I was using, I tried the CGS suppressor. I couldn't get any of them. I tried different springs. Mine just didn't want to run. So naturally, I kind of thought, well, this is gonna be a pain to suppress. Here I have the Huxworks Rad 9 suppressor. It is a very, very, very lightweight suppressor. And it does require a booster to run. So if you see here, that will slide up and down. Don't get too excited, guys, okay? All right, don't get too excited. It does require that to work. When I initially got it on there, it was not working like at all. Then I went like this and told Dan to squirt some oil on it. We went like this to it, and it all of a sudden has never had a hiccup in the hundreds and hundreds of rounds that we've shot. So I have 4 different types of ammo, 115 grain, 124 grain, followed by a subsonic 147 grain, followed by a G9 defense, like 80 grain,
Yeah,
something in the 80s, something like that. So we'll see if it runs them all. There it is. That's crazy. This combo is cash money, and if you get the Huxworks cash 9K, then it's really cash money. Let's go over the first issue that happened to me. I just called Flux to see if this was a normal thing, and we're gonna get to the bottom of it. I was shooting with the stock unfolded, went to go fold it, noticed there wasn't any of that spring pressure, and noticed my spring to deploy the stock had fallen out. And if you notice at the bottom, it's kind of like a little glue surface and all that. So I hit up Flux, hey, is this an issue? Yes, out of the 10 kind of media guns that we sent out, they weren't prepped properly. There was no mechanical system holding them in. This won't be an issue for future generations, or so I was told. I don't work at Flux, so they're stand-up guys, so I would probably take their word for it that these will be mechanically held in as well as glued in a different manner. The only other issue, they said they hadn't seen it before, was I had this little pin. I'll play the clip right here. This pin started to walk out. I don't know if you can see it. I'll get a close-up of it, but I cannot collapse. There we go. Now I should be able to, yep, there we go. So it was stopping the stock from collapsing. And so I had to hammer it back in, and ever since I hammered it back in, it hasn't walked out for the rest of the day. And so kind of a non-issue as well. Probably the only 2 issues that I've had with the gun since shooting it. Now, I only have 1 day on this. I probably have a couple 100 rounds, okay? It's not some crazy long-term burn down review. Mostly out here just having fun with it. So I have a big old box of Flux goodies. We are going to be desuppressing this. Check this out. This thing is gnarly. This is a 6-inch barrel for the Flux. So that thing is gonna sit all the way out there. Let's make sure we're clear before I demonstrate this. You can see without putting in this 6-inch barrel how easy it would be to just absolutely send your thumb 6 feet under, okay? You would never get that thumb back. If you don't wanna run the 6-inch barrel and you wanna run the stock barrel, there's another option. I believe these come with it. You can put on this little shroud, and now there's screws in the bottom here and here. And now we have our little barrel shroud. You'd really have to try to get your thumb in front of that now. You can kind of C-grip the gun. Unfortunately with the suppressor, it doesn't fit in the holster. I think it'd be super sick if someone did design a holster that had like a one-way knob, where like the knob allowed the gun to go in, but as it comes out, it automatically actuates that button. I don't know if that's possible because I'm not an engineer, but my monkey brain tells me it should be, and it's really cool. One thing I did just think of, you probably could just remove that button. When you collapse the stock, it's retained by the holster, and immediately upon exiting the holster, it would automatically deploy. I don't know if we should try that after this, but I'm gonna try manually deploying it first. Okay, bill drill 242. Obviously, I think it's gonna be a little slower than a handgun on the draw. It was a 163 to first shot. All right, here we have my main squeeze set up. This is a Landers Glock with a OpticsPlanet exclusive Trijicon SRO and a Grey Fox strategic holster. Good guys over there at Grey Fox. They're Canadians. They sent me maple candy with my holster, and 202, so a half second faster essentially. 192. So 2.4 to 1.9 on average, about a half second faster with the handgun. All right, we're gonna be testing my theory. I completely removed the button, so it's no longer retained. It will always deploy. Oh my gosh.
That looked like the sauce, dude.
182. That's crazy. And number 1 thing that I did not like about this. I will play a quick compilation of what happened. What you just saw there was, as you shoot, your thumb naturally wants to be about here. When the gun recoils, you will impact this ramp with your thumb, if it's here, going boom, dropping your mag. So if you're gonna be using this, you need to put rounds on it and get that muscle memory built into that thumb to either be out of the way or a lot higher than that button, okay? My little brain could not take my thumb away from that button for some reason. I just kept doing it. What's crazy to me is they somehow fit most of the Flux Raider features into this tinier chassis. For example, if I half press this button, the mag will come out. If I press this button, the rear mag will come out. Now, if I full press this button, both mags will come out. That is how you kind of, perform your super Instagram fancy speed reloads if you don't fumble the bag. I do not have it on here, but you'll see there's 4 holes right here. You can mount a side plate that goes up and over the slide, where you don't need to mount the optic to the slide. So if you don't have a slide that's already milled, then you can buy the optic plate and mount your optic there, which I might even prefer, because now this gun does have 4 holes right here for accessory rails. The accessory rail can be mounted up and over the slide, where you can then mount optics directly to it. Here I have the Holosun 407K mounted to the 365 XL slide. It gets really, really low, and I think I actually don't prefer that. I think if I did have that optic side mount, I would currently be running it, and I will explain why. Specifically, running suppressed, getting really low on the gun to acquire that, you get a decent amount of blowback in your eyes. Like, you probably can't see it, but for me, I have just black schmutz all over my face, and you kind of feel it blowing back into your face. So ideally, I would mount it up here and maybe even a riser or something and run kind of a chin weld and get out of that direct blowback range, or just a little further off the gun. I feel like I'd rather bring it here than come down here and have that slide just literally advancing towards my eyeball. Now, luckily they do include this little safety flag. It's like, hey, if you're touching that, you're in the red zone. Don't go any further if you like your nose. Personally, I would be running the riser if I had one. Only a couple more points before wrapping up here. There is a cutout back here that is for your manual safety if you have that. I do not have the manual safety, so I'm not running it. It's literally no big deal at all. Now, let me talk to you a little bit about the recoil impulse. I will say that the Flux Raider, the P320 full-size Flux Raider, definitely has a softer, nicer, more controllable recoil impulse. That's also just true with the handgun itself. The 365 is a snappy handgun. It's a tiny little gun cycling violently. It's a big gun cycling semi-violently. Now, tiny little nub of a brace here, going on your shoulder, a little wire stock, and a spicy little pistol shooting, all comes together to be a relatively snappy recoil impulse, especially with the blowback from the suppressor going into your eye. I'm not going to say that it's a bad shooting experience. We're talking about a really, really, really small package, okay? If this were like a full-size MP5, yeah, and you had that kind of recoil impulse, I would be pretty upset. In this size of a package, I think it's expected, and I'm not upset about it at all. I can accurately shoot and track my dot. I'd say you probably are gonna get way less of that blowback in your face if you're not running suppressed, probably be a little less snappy as well. But it's not bad. It's not unbearable. It's not great. Lastly, let's talk about the stock. The stock is built out of aluminum like the rest of the chassis. Has a little flag, a little offset over there for your shoulder. And there's 2 screws back here. I'm assuming that they're gonna come out with like an SBR version as well, to put a better stock on it. And there's 2 stock options, the long and the short. If you want to run a small compact light, you run the short. If you want to run a full-size light, you run the long. As far as wobble in the stock, you really don't get a whole lot. I don't know if you guys can see that. Just a little movement side to side. Honestly though, once you have it braced, it's not wobbling. It's not like dancing on your shoulder or anything. It feels pretty solid, pretty good to go. Actually feels a little less spongy than the let's just go. Actually feels a little less spongy, like up and down movement than the, yeah, I mean, you can see all that twisty, turvy, spongy movement. Whereas with this guy, you really get a lot more solid of a lockup. Now, obviously, you get a whole lot less to deal with in the shoulder.
One thing I almost forgot. We're back in the studio. One thing that really did kind of bum me out. When I got it, the first thing I did was I unfolded the stock, I got it ready to get all built out, and I put on a Surefire X300. However, upon trying to put on a full-size light, I'm not gonna cinch it down, but I was like, oh, that's a bummer. However, the geniuses over at Flux made this a screw. Super easy to remove the brace. You can then take your other brace. Now, I have a super long brace on there. Actually, I think I prefer the length of this stock because it gets my face away from that suppressor blowback and all those gases in my face. Lights, these mod lights are just ridiculously large, but it will fit a Surefire. Ooh, it will actually fit a mod light. So yeah, any of the lights you may throw at this thing.
I know a lot of people are gonna ask, which one do you prefer? Do you prefer the Flux Raider 320 or do you prefer the 365 XL? I don't think that's a fair question. I think they're entirely different guns. As far as a shooting experience, I think this one's a little easier to shoot. As far as compactness and just the aluminum chassis and feeling like a unit, I prefer this one. The stock is a little more solid. But other than that, I mean, they share a lot of the same quantities. They both do this. They both do it. This one's got a safety. This one does not. Other than that, they're both just glorified SIGs that are a lot more fun to shoot. Now, I will say that with the Flux Raider, the full size, since it does have this safety here, you're not really sitting on that mag release. See, once you flick that safety off, you're kind of on that safety and it kind of blocks you from hitting that mag release. And I never had an issue with accidentally dropping the mag accidentally out of my full-size Flux Raider. So that kind of is I almost would like, I don't know if I'm crazy, I'd almost want, like, there's two screw holes right here. I'd almost want like a tiny little accessory or thumb ledge to like a gas pedal to put my thumb there. I think that would be super awesome. It'd fix the problem for me right away. Obviously, there's gonna be people in the comments saying, dude, just shoot and train past it. You don't need the gas pedal to fix the issue. Sure. Finally, this threaded barrel is from True Precision, as well as the 6-inch barrel from Flux is also from True Precision. It happens to have a Flux logo on the top though, so that's kind of cool. And that is the 365 Raider. I love this. There's my final thoughts on it. I really like it. I think it's an awesome gun. It's super, super sturdy. It's all aluminum. It feels like just a really cool, awesome, innovative, compact little subgun, like PCC PDW package. You take it anywhere, you can fit it anywhere. I think this is a buy. I really do. I do not know the price quite yet. I'll put it down here if I figure out the price before finishing editing this video. But all in all, I mean, I like it. I think the guys over at Flux, I've said this time and time, I've reviewed now 3 of their products, are some of the most innovative dudes in the industry. I love innovation. There's not a whole lot of it. There's not a whole lot of things you're like, that's new, that's exciting. Everything Flux ever releases is new and exciting, whether it be a tourniquet from Snake Stack Systems, all the way to the scope switch, and now their electronic scope switch, which is, I tried at SHOT Show, super cool. Down to the Flux Raiders. I know a lot of people, it takes some warming up to get used to these kind of designs. I think that if you had one and played with it, you'd fall in love with it pretty quick. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I love you guys. Stay frosty.